Xbox on.
Game on, baby! Wow!
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to the Party Chat Podcast, the official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit. I'm your host, Ross Miller, and I'm joined by everyone's favourite uncle. It's Uncle Jessy.
Hello. How are you guys?
Yeah, not bad at all. Our lord and savoury snack is delicious cheese.
It is. What's doing?
What's doing?
People still say that? That's a very Australian thing to say.
Is it?
Yeah. At least it was like 10 years ago, last time I was in the country.
Yeah, so let's all make comments like I'm 10 years old.
Well, why not?
Hey, Carina, what's up?
What's up?
Now, later on, we have an interview with Rafal from Bloober Team, creators of Observer, which came out on Xbox One a couple of weeks ago now. I know we've all been playing it, so you get that to look forward to a little bit later on. Well, anyway, we usually start this podcast with what we have been playing. So, Carina, I'm going to start with you. What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Slime Rancher again. I think it seems to be a streaming favourite, and it's very relaxing, so I got playing that again. And I also gave Destiny 1 a quick replay in preparation for Destiny 2, which I can tell you now, it will be the same answer for several weeks on end of what I've been playing will be Destiny. When that comes out.
You're barred from the podcast for like 4 weeks.
I'm so excited for it.
I mean, you are really serious about Destiny. Like Destiny's come out, better play through Destiny 1 again, just to be ready.
Gotta be prepared.
If you played through the vanilla storyline of Destiny 1, you could probably get through it in about, 15 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
From the original, yeah. It's more all the expansion packs that I was going to do I say 24 hours, it's basically going to be a stream till I fall asleep.
One of those.
Yeah, but I'm like, I have to do a midnight launch, so I basically work until 1 a.m, and then I don't get home till 2, and then I'm going to start playing it.
Well, Carina, nice. Not that I actually wanted to do this, okay? But just to annoy you, I'm going to start playing Destiny 2 at midnight.
Do you know what's worse, though? I have to watch people play it at work, and I can't do anything about it.
Oh.
So it's actually technically probably going to be spoilt for me within, the first hour. So I'm just like, so I'm just going to have to, avoid everything whilst trying to sell people.
Are there really spoilers in that game, though? Come on, isn't that just about loot and grinding and guns and attachment?
It's more what weapons there are. Everyone's excited to see the weapons. The caves. A lot of caves.
Memory.
Loot farming. That's the way to go.
So now that we know what Carina's not going to be playing on launch day, Rhys, what have you been playing this week?
I have only had the time to play one game, and that is Observer. But I finished it. It took me about, say, 8 to 10 hours. So,
really?
Yeah, I actually missed quite a bit. I missed an entire story, plot line, which really annoys me now because I didn't realize about it until I checked the achievements at the end. It also has multiple endings, so I'd love to know what endings you guys end up with when you reach the end.
How many? How far along achievement wise are you percentage ish? Are you at 500 achievos?
I think
400?
I'm about 500 and something. There's a lot of collectible achievements and one for beating all the spider mini games and stuff like that. And yeah, because you need to find all the computers to beat all the spider levels, and I didn't find all the computers because I missed a whole plot line. So yeah, I wasn't good enough at detecting basically.
Didn't knock on enough doors.
Yeah, and I won't spoil it for anyone, but yeah, basically I didn't find the right person and the right door to go to at the right time, and that's what you get. I wasn't observing well enough, apparently, so that's all I played. But I finished it, which is something that I don't do to a lot of games anymore. But it was finished, so Good. Highly recommended.
Clay, what about you?
I was also playing a little bit of The Observer, but I actually spent a lot of time, not a lot of time, but a good amount of time playing Trials Fusion and having an absolute blast with that game. That's actually the first Trials game that I've ever played, and am just amazed at the ragdoll physics of this game. It's so simple, but at the same time, extremely complicated. And I love the fact that they have that sort of ghost effect that kind of the Forza series has, where as you're racing, you see your friends that you're racing, or even yourself as you're racing. And it just makes me want to continually go over the same track over and over again to try and beat all of your times.
Did you beat any of our times?
Oh yeah, for sure. On the first, I'm only up through the second course, I think. Not the second course. There's like a set of things, a set of maps. The first set, not on all of them, but on a lot of them, I think I've beaten most of your times.
That's
in your face. We all have the game. I would say for next week's show, we should pick a map and see who can get the best course time by the end of that, by next week's recording.
Well, I want to point out, a few weeks ago, I suggested this very challenge and opened it up to the listeners, and one of our listeners, Triforce Dark, who tweets us quite often, came back and said, haha, Ross, I bet your time on this level. Less than 24 hours later, I'd already overtaken him on it, so sorry about that. Your record is ruined.
It's no Turbo Tunnel challenge, though, with Carina staying up till like 3 to 4 a.m.
I know, Carina, I can't believe you sat up all night to just beat that time.
This is why you don't give me challenges, because I just have to beat them.
The worst part is I did that in 5 minutes and was like, psych it, Ross, and went to bed. I didn't even think about it. And you were just like, no!
I want to beat this!
Well, for me, I have also been playing Observer. I'm not putting greater than symbols in front of it and things like that, but I am not too far into it. I've only done maybe another hour, 2 hours from where I was last week. But man, what an atmosphere that game creates. I struggle to play it in long bursts because of that atmosphere. I get so quite stressful. Anxious. It is so stressful at moments. Again, it's a type of game, if you go into any detail whatsoever, you could spoil it for others, but wow. I did not expect this. I loved Layers of Fear. I recently watched my friend Bob restream Layers of Fear, but when I pick up Observer, I'm just so immersed in that game, and I can't wait for other people to get their hands on it, those that have played it, get your thoughts, and of course we'll hear one of the developers' thoughts a little bit later on in the interview. But yeah, it's been a good week of gaming for a lot of us, apart from Carina, clearly.
Slime Rancher is good.
Slime Rancher is good. But will we find out what's been happening in the subreddit this week?
Yeah.
You're listening to Xbox One Party Chat Podcast. This week in the subreddit.
So, first story this week is, as per usual, we just miss out on the games with gold before we released last week.
Again.
And it always creeps up. I feel, at least for me, it always creeps up. And I'm like, God damn it. We always forget. It's on the 24th of every month, correct? It's like the 24th of every month?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, about that time anyway, yeah. But this month is what I consider to be an absolute belter.
A belter?
A belter. A great month. That's what that means in Scottish, if you really want to know. A belter. On Xbox One, between September 1st and the 30th, we have Forza 5. And between the 16th to October 15th, it is Oxenfree.
Oh, yes.
Meanwhile, on the Xbox 360, we have Hydro Thunder Hurricane between September 1st to the 15th, and Battlefield 3 between September 16th to the 30th. Now, one thing I'm noticing, with exception to Forza 4, is that the Forza games all seem to go on Games with Gold now just before the licenses run out for them. So, so in about a year and a half's time, we're going to get Forza 6 by this looks. But guys, this is a great month, isn't it? You know, Carina just mentioned she likes the look of Oxenfree. Why does that appeal to you, Carina?
I don't know why. It just looks really good, but it's not a game I've ever really heard of before. So I'd be interested just to try it to see what it's like, and then see if I do or don't like it. But Forza, I am just not great with cars. I hit more trees than I do driving.
Aha.
So Forza's not one that I'd probably look at. And Battlefield is not. It's fun. I think Battlefield's fun, but other than Destiny, like, shooters just don't end well for me either.
Get out of here.
I'm sorry.
Right now.
Wait, so
Sorry.
Overwatch, is that definitely not end? Wait, no, Overwatch definitely doesn't end well for you. I remember when you tried to get ranked.
Yeah.
We don't talk
Don't
about the
speak of
dark
that
times.
bit. The embarrassment.
What about
Sorry?
you? What's your pick for this month? What are you looking forward to playing?
See, there's only one game on this list I don't own, but that's Oxenfree. But it's always been on my short list to buy, because everybody I know who is in the know has said nothing but good things about Oxenfree. It's supposed to be, I don't want to call it a horror game, but like a
mystery.
An atmospheric mystery story-based kind of game. I haven't played it, so I don't know. I'm just going based on what people are saying. It's one of those games no one will talk about for fear of spoilers.
Good.
Has anyone here played it before?
Nope.
I've started it. I don't know why I never continued, but I got it on PC. Actually, it was part of a Humble Bundle once. And I started it, was really looking forward to playing it, and then I never picked it back up. So I do that a lot with PC games, if I'm honest with you, because I tend to game on my PC when I'm travelling. So I'm actually looking forward for this to come on Xbox One, just so I can really give it a fair shot and give it my opinion on it. But yeah, out of all the games there, that is easily my top pick as well, would be Oxenfree. Clay?
I would say Forza 5, even though I already own it, and Battlefield 3, even though I already own it. Forza 5, I ended up getting for free. It was one of the OG games. It was one of the initial games that came out with the Xbox One. And there was actually a faulty drive issue with my Xbox One my day one edition that I ended up getting, and ended up sending it in, and as a sort of not a reward, but a reimbursement for my time, they gave me Forza 5, which was nice. I just never got around to playing it that much. And then Battlefield 3, I was chatting with a bunch of people on this actual posting. I was like, man, I can't wait to jump back into Battlefield 3. I love Battlefield. I wish they'd go back to, the modern day time setting. There's so much crazy stuff that can happen in this. And then I realized I already have this because of EA Access. I just haven't bothered installing it. I was like, wait a minute. It's been on EA Access for what, a year now? And I just didn't cross my mind to boot it back up and play it again. But the multiplayer in that is just ridiculous for anybody that hasn't played it already. It should be a lot of fun to jump back in there once this game drops.
The multiplayer in Battlefield 3 is probably my most played game of all time.
Might be
for hours spent.
Like Rush on the map in Paris. That's
Rush.
all I remember.
Oh man.
Rush, no. Rush. Right, you scrub. Like Conquest.
Conquest.
Conquest is Battlefield. Everything else is just Scrub City.
So what I'm really, really disappointed at is no one here is hyping up Hydro Thunder Hurricane.
Hydro Thunder! That's how I imagine the game. Something.
I like how you got bored of that halfway through.
It's like, nah, I'm cutting this off.
You're going to job in Japan doing that. That's basically how every video game and everything opens up. Some guy just shouting like that.
They need an loud American. Let me know.
Yeah.
Somebody's from Japan.
Well, I think that is a good point to move us on to the next story. So, Rhys, would you like to do the next story?
I would. The Scorpio is basically selling like hotcakes. We have had numerous threads, and I mean numerous threads on the topic. Basically, every single news outlet out there has made at least 2 or 5 or 20 topics about it. Bestseller on Amazon. It's the fastest selling Xbox anything pre-order ever. And apparently Aaron Greenberg is quoted as having said that Microsoft expected the Xbox One X Scorpio Edition inventory to last a whole week, but it didn't even last a day. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Because so many people were not sure if this was going to sell.
Guess what I did today?
You pre-ordered?
I did.
Nice.
Well,
I don't know if I'm getting it though, but yeah, I pre-ordered.
The Scorpio Edition or just regular?
No, Scorpio Edition. I managed to. In Birmingham, they got some in this morning, so I was like, right, I want one.
Oh,
like, yes.
I'm so mad. I missed my chance.
Oh.
I can get regular ones, so it's okay. It just won't be fancy and, green.
Green.
See, I'm all about the regular edition of the Scorpio edition now. And for one reason and one reason alone. And it was a picture that someone posted. I believe it's in the subreddit. And I am pro keeping your sticker on that console.
Oh,
okay.
No.
Team No Sticker.
I am
Team No
sticker
Sticker for life.
All the way. My
What's wrong with
sticker
you, man?
is still on my day one console.
Yes.
What's wrong with you?
Same
You're one
here,
of those
Ross.
people. Oh.
Yep, right there with you. Right there with you.
And if you have a Scorpio edition, the sticker covers the Scorpio logo.
Oh, yeah, but
I guess I'll still have to keep
you
that
take
on
it off anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you
You
don't
walk
take it
around
off.
the house in clothing that still has the brand
labels?
logo label on it from the store, or what?
Well, no, I did buy a pair of shoes a couple of weeks ago and forgot to take the sticker off the bottom beside the heel, and someone pointed it out for me, but yeah, maybe that's the one exception. But no, I like it because Josh Stein hates us pro stickers, and that is the
That's
sole
because
reason.
Josh Stein is my boy, and he knows what's up.
Mr. Steen. I will have to post some pictures then of my day one Xbox One with the sticker, and then once I get my Scorpio, I will still post another picture with the sticker still intact.
Did you guys see that Josh was like doing drive-bys of all the Scorpio demo units and peeling the stickers off them and then sending it to Twitter like, ha, suck it.
Carina, you've pre-ordered. Clay, you've pre-ordered. Rhys, you and me aren't quite there yet.
No, well, see, for me it was like I want to get the Scorpio edition, and because I couldn't, well, I don't really need to. I mean, it's Finland, so there's like 4 people up here who buy Xboxes, so I can just stroll in on release day and get one.
Quite lucky.
A lot better than what it is over here, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I turned up on launch day and picked up a Switch. Finland is, serious PlayStation territory, and if not PlayStation, then like hardcore PC gaming. Xbox is really the minority, and Nintendo is basically non-existent. The Nintendo games here basically hold their full resale value for years. Like, I can buy a Nintendo game and like resell it and lose maybe €10 to GameStop after like 2 years. It's great.
But guys, did any of you expect the sales to be so many?
No.
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I really thought...
Why has this happened?
I mean, think about it.
I don't know.
The whole time, even Phil himself was downplaying, like, guys, this is going to be an enthusiast machine for the hardcore gamer, and it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be priced accordingly, I believe was his exact quote, So, and then Microsoft came out, $499, and everyone was like, oh, no one's going to buy that. $499, too expensive. But boom, sold every single one, like in less than 24 hours. Like, wow.
It's an exciting time, and it's going to be interesting to know. I can never really tell sales until I see all my friends buying it, until I know how many of my friends have ordered it, and that's how I can judge console sales, and this is, for me, so exciting. It's like, we have played number 2 for this entire generation, and I've always said it's a very privileged time that we can all have more than one console. In fact, we're buying a new generation of the same console that we already own, which is higher spec. It's amazing. But this is not what I expected at all. I'm hearing my friends pre-ordering it. I'm hearing people that I just wouldn't have expected to be going on the Xbox bandwagon to like have a day one pre-order. This is beyond expectation, and I cannot wait until release day to see all those happy faces. Cannot wait at all.
I think it's because people love gadgets, and like the Xbox One X is like a serious gadget. Like, you know, it's the most powerful console ever. It makes the competition look like, you know, Tamagotchis in essence. You know, it's like, at least according to the marketing. So it's like for the average consumer who like has a bit of disposable income and, you know, just finished buying their iPhone 54 or whatever, then this new thing comes along. Like, yeah, I want one. I don't care what it does, but the advertising tells me it's the best, and I want to try it out.
Rhys, I'm really interested in seeing if come next year, this time frame, will there be an Xbox One XS? Will it go the same route as
how?
You know, I don't know.
It's
just
already tiny. How can it be smaller?
I don't know, but maybe more power is there going to be a new iteration every year, like with cell phones? I mean, cell phones, my cell phone, if I were to go out and buy my cell phone without a contract, is more expensive than the Xbox. I'm getting locked into a contract.
My phone is like $800. I have the Galaxy S8 Edge. It's incredibly
What happened to your Windows
expensive.
phone?
I didn't tell you.
No,
he died.
You and Jess Gordon are like the only people I
know.
That's why Jess hasn't been back. Jess hasn't been back on the podcast since Rhys's Windows phone died.
I think Jess has disowned me. Well, I mean, I would have bought another one, but they don't exist anymore. So I had to buy either a Samsung or an iPhone, and I bought the Samsung. But yeah, so basically back on topic, it's true what you say. You know, people buy these new phones every year. And I think that this gradual updating of the technology, you know, iterations, as you said, without losing all of your old stuff is the way forward. Because it already happens on phones. It already happens on computers. You know, you can even transfer the data from your microwave. You know, it's, the fact that consoles like reset every 4 or 5 years is actually really backwards.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'll bring out more designs?
They will 100% bring out more designs.
Yeah, like more colours and whatnot, but you know, I reckon they'll do that instead next year. I don't think they'll be in like XS yet.
Maybe not yet, no.
So you've mentioned about phones and contracts. So if this went down this route that you could enter into a contract and pay $20-30 a month, and in 2 years' time you can upgrade to the latest version of that console, is that something you would do?
Yeah.
Maybe throw an Xbox Live and Games Pass.
Ross, you might get locked in. You might get locked into like it might be something like here in the States. I don't know how it is overseas, but you get locked into AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or one of these larger
companies. You're not allowed to do that here.
I'm wondering if you get locked in to like Amazon or a Best Buy or a GameStop or one of these other retailer, a Walmart, that you'd get locked into that contract with. And then it's kind of like, all right, if you're going to buy games, you're buying games through us because you bought the console.
That sucks. See, unlike America, we actually have some consumer rights in Europe, so you can't, they can't lock you into contracts like that.
No, in the UK, it's exactly the same. Like, we're locked to a network.
Since when is the UK Europe?
Very true, very true.
Brexit, never forget, hashtag.
Well, we want to know your thoughts. Would you enter into a contract to get a new version of your console every couple of years if you were to pay a monthly amount? Let us know on Twitter or in the Reddit comments below this post. But anyway, I think this is a good time to move on to our interview. So take it away, Rhys.
Xbox Snap this week's interview.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. As promised, we are here with this week's interview, and we have a really, really cool guest this week. We have Rafal Basaj from Bloober Team, developers of both Layers of Fear and Observer. Rafal, welcome to the podcast. Hello.
Hello, guys. It's very nice to be with you here.
Oh, it's fantastic. The honor is all ours. So how's about we basically get this show on the road, and why don't we start off with you telling us, who you are and what exactly it is that you do for Bloober Team.
So I'm the brand manager for the company. So I took care of both PR and marketing, talking to people, doing interviews, but also, managing the whole brand. So I need to know basically everything about it. And I had one or two fingers in the production as well. So, I'm doing everything. No, in all seriousness, I'm really close to the guys from the production, so I can answer basically most of your questions, hopefully.
Awesome. That's exciting to hear. I mean, I was wondering, could you tell us and the audience a little bit about Bloober, and then how you guys all got started? And I mean, there's big thing I want to know is how is it that most of these horror game developers have such funny names? There's nothing scary about Bloober.
Basically, the company was established in 2008, so it's not a recent debut that we had. We've been working for work for hire projects for a while, and to earn some money, gain some experience. And, we always wanted to do horror games, like from the very beginning, from the get-go. However, we didn't have the resources to do that. So as time passed by and, we were able to start doing our own projects, we were, from time to time trying to do something of our own. And at one point we decided to do just what we always wanted, which is, a full-fledged horror game. So that's when Layers of Fear came. And we were pretty sure back at the moment, when we were releasing the game, is basically what we are good at and what we really want to do in the company. So after the success of Layers of Fear, our egos kind of went up.
Nice.
So, we knew that we did something that people really enjoyed, and it wasn't, every other horror on the market at the time. So it wasn't a survival horror game. It wasn't focused on action. It was, more about the atmosphere, the mood. And that's something that we want to do. When you think about the film industry, horror is such a huge and robust term covering all kinds of these subgenres, including, slashers, gore, psychological. So there's a lot of variety, which we kind of felt is not present, is basically absent from the video game industry right now. Most of the horrors, those mainstream horrors at least, were either focused on action, like killing hundreds of zombies or whatnot, or were focused on running from unkillable enemies. So that's what we wanted to avoid. We wanted to tackle different subjects, be, more psychological in nature, focus on the experience and the atmosphere and the mood. And that's what we want to do in the company. So if you played Observer, you probably felt the same things. The game is not action oriented, and it focuses mostly on the atmosphere, on the experience from, delving into this world, very dark and gritty world that we have developed for you guys. And that's what we want to do in the company, psychological horror all the way.
You guys just released your newest game, obviously, which is Observer, or more accurately, greater than Observer _ to what has been basically critical acclaim. I think GameSpot gave you 9 out of 10. You got really high scores basically everywhere. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And second of all, for those who are familiar, or rather who are unfamiliar, could you, maybe basically just quickly describe the game for us in your own words? I know you were just saying that it's a horror game, but can you describe it a bit more in depth?
Sure. Observer, as I told, is a psychological horror game that we've set in this, very dark and gritty cyberpunk world. And again, we actually placed the game in Krakow, Poland, which is our, hometown. So we kind of knew the environment, we knew the history of the city, and when we're before I delve into the details, a short description. So you play as Daniel Lazarski, who is a neural detective that has the ability, basically he has a device that enables him to hack into other people's minds and memories. So the game starts when your estranged son, with whom you lost contact years ago, calls you, asks for your help. So you basically respond to that. You go to this old tenement building in a slum district. And once you enter it, like, all kinds of weird things start to happen. And, you have a mystery on your hand. Like, you see a body that's might or might not be your son. So we have to figure out what has happened. Who's the killer, like what's going on, how your son ties into all of that. So it's a really, full-fledged mystery going on that you have to unwrangle, and you have to, do your detective work, basically scan the environment, look for clues, talk with tenants, find evidence. But at the end of it all, like the most important moments in the game are where you literally go into someone else's head.
It's a really cool concept that you guys have there. That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
It's a really cool concept. And I was going to say, I mean, how on earth did you guys come up with the idea of mixing horror and cyberpunk? I mean, as far as I can recall, I can't think of immediately any other game that has mixed those two genres together. So, I mean, would love to hear some of the background on what brought you guys to the horror cyberpunk realm.
After Layers of Fear, we were thinking about changing the environment a little bit, doing something completely in a different setting that we can show some of the skills of our artists that are extremely good, self-promo, but seriously, those guys are really great in what they do. When we were finishing up Layers of Fear, it was a time when we were already closing the early access, so we were starting, thinking slowly about the next projects. Our main writer, was meant to make a few drafts of future projects and see whether anything clicks. And we're discussing, all those different possibilities where we can set the game. And he came with an idea, with this cyberpunk setting, like, let's do a cyberpunk horror game. And like, that was it. Like, the company.
Oh, that's easy. Let's do this. Great.
It was really easy. There's a really huge group of fans of cyberpunk in the company. And obviously everyone loves horror. So, it was always more about, thinking about how to, make the horror go into the cyberpunk universe. So that was, the tricky part, how we can present horror, something that's, fantastic in nature, at least most commonly referred to as something fantastic, in this very dark and gritty, cyberpunk future. So what we actually figured out was basically, first and foremost, the brain hacking mechanic. Like, it was the best thing that we could think of, to present horror, like go into someone else's mind, which is creepy on its own. Like, I bet every one of you had a moment that you were scared of what you were thinking at some particular moment, and you were going like, right. Whoa, was it me that I thought of it? So, that was the first point. The second point was, we didn't want to do a typical cyberpunk setting. Like, we wanted to do something of our own. So we, took this, Hollywood, American, movies, Blade Runner, Johnny Mnemonic, and, Barbed Wire even. And, yes, that one. So, we were going through these cyberpunk things, looking, how the world was built in all of them. Of course, we've read, William Gibson books. We've read Philip K. Dick books. Then we went to referrals from Asia, like from Japan, most prominently. Like, the 90s are so such a boom in Japanese cyberpunk series and movies, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and tons of other cyberpunk animes. So when we, had the vision how the American cyberpunk looked like and, how Asian cyberpunk looked like, then we started thinking about how we can set a cyberpunk game in our own culture, like Central European culture. And what we did is basically we started thinking about how would cyberpunk look like through the eyes of someone living in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, where, the best cyberpunk movies and series and books actually came out. And that was our focal point, which we used to develop the game. And we added, a lot of Polish pop culture, Polish even decor and what was happening in our country in the late 80s and the beginning of the 90s. So, transferring from this Soviet era to be a completely free country. So it was all was very inspirational for us, and it's kind of heavily reflected in the game itself.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I've been to Krakow, and this wasn't the Krakow I remember. Although I don't remember much.
You will see.
This is the Krakow we'll see. I don't remember much because it was a stag do where 7 Scottish people just came upon your good city. So, to be fair, I don't remember much. It could have. I really don't know.
I have to say, actually, from what you said, the propaganda posters everywhere in the game were very Soviet, but also cyberpunk in a way.
Right.
This is the click almost momentarily when we were thinking about the game. So, cyberpunk is all about mega corporations ruling the world. And, when we are going back to the 80s in our country, the Soviets were still here and, their influence was really strong. So, the time in Poland was kind of, filled with propaganda posters, and that's just it connected. So if you think about a mega corporation, for them to rule is not only, economy and money, it's also brainwashing people in some way. And those propaganda posters were basically what connected both the vision of cyberpunk and also, having a kind of a government that's controlling the people.
That's actually really cool. I didn't think of it much at the time, but now that now that you say that, it's that makes total sense. But, so, we're talking so much about, the style of the game and whatever else, it's a complete love letter to the classic, cyberpunk genre, as you said, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. But, you even borrowed one of the main characters from Blade Runner, the actor, Rutger Hauer, who voices your main character. I don't know what it was like working with such a big time, movie legend like Rutger. How did you guys do it? Did he work remotely or did he come into Poland? What was that like?
Yeah, as I said, Observer was supposed to be kind of a homage to cyberpunk, culture as a whole, or maybe not culture, but a genre. So, Rutger Hauer was the most iconic actor playing in a cyberpunk movie ever.
Right.
And he also connected to that 80s trend that we were going for. So what we did was actually we reached out to him. We told him that we are doing a cyberpunk game, very gritty, reminiscent of the 1980s Blade Runner. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's see what it is like. So, a few people from our company flew to Amsterdam. They've met Rutger there. They've told him a little more, in more detail about the project. And he was hyped for it. So.
Really?
Yes, he was really hyped for the project. He thought it was sounding interesting. So, when, the deal was done, he was, all in for the project. We kind of took him to Krakow for a week for him to record all of the, voiceovers for the game. So he actually flew by, spent a week with us. He was, in the offices, talking to all of the team, telling stories. So it was a really, really good experience talking with him. He's a very cool guy, to be honest. Like, he's a very free spirit, and he's very open for, culture, and definitely cyberpunk was, something that he loved, probably from the moment he started in Blade Runner.
Right. I mean, he basically helped give birth to the genre. He gave us the Tears in Rain line.
Yes, the Tears in Rain line. Yeah, that's the most famous. So we actually made him say that, I believe.
Of course you did. What's the point of having Rutger Hauer in your house if you don't make him say that?
But yeah, like, he's not the only actor in the game. So
no.
Probably, the Western world doesn't know the actor, but actually we took one of the most prominent Polish actors, who's named Arkadiusz Jakubi, and to star in the game as well. And, that's what we were doing with Observer from the very beginning. So we are mixing Polish culture with, this very global cyberpunk culture to give something of our own into the genre. So it was also a way to, have a Polish actor in the game, and he was super hyped for it as well. And what he did, like, acting wise, was really, really awesome. And yeah, he looked pretty hyped for the game as well. So it really turned out really, really great. Like, having those two really good actors, one from Poland, one from, well, basically, being one fit in Europe and the other in the US. So it was, a full-fledged mix for us, which we think was, a very, very awesome, it had a very awesome ending. So
yeah,
really, really,
I thought the voice acting was great. Which character did the Polish guy play? Just out of curiosity.
he was Janus, the
superintendent,
janitor.
the janitor. Yes. That's cool. I had no idea that he was such a famous actor. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's mostly famous in Poland and probably a little bit in the Czech Republic. He played a few movies. I think that some of them received some awards in European film contests. So yeah, he's maybe not, Rutger Hauer type of a star, but he definitely, has everything to be as good as an actor as Rutger is.
Now, there's one thing about this game that I just found was truly amazing. The game probably conveys what it's like to have a nightmare better than anything that has came before it. How on earth did you guys go about designing those sequences? I can't pretend to understand just how you came up with some of it.
Like, as I said before, like, most of the people in the company are huge horror fans. So, they've been going through books, comic books, movies, TV series, everything connected, to horror. And, the imagery sticks with you. And, if you delve into horror all that much, you kind of start to take interest in, psychological aspects of horror. You start to think about things like, lucid dreaming or whatnot. So you get all those, very trippy ideas in your head, and, you have all those references in your head. So when it comes to designing everything, it's kind of, you take a lot from you've learned from all that, works of culture, and you just mix it with your idea of what would feel scary for you, or what you feel will be very cool for the player to see. And we kind of fiddle with it. So, we have like basic ideas for a level, or we have a basic idea for the antagonist or the protagonist. And we go with the pros and cons. What we do is want to, have, apart from, being a horror, we want our projects to be kind of very down to earth. So observer, like the tenants living in the building, and basically the backstory you have the game, like they are all, flesh and bones people that you would think you could meet in a tenement building even right now if you go, knocking on the neighbors' doors.
Not quite sure what kind of tenant building you live in, Rafal. That's not quite what it's like.
No, it's like that in Glasgow.
Okay.
As I said, all tenement buildings, some district, there's a lot of weird people living in the world. So we obviously pumped it up to a better effect, but their problems are pretty real, in the modern world right now. So, it's as I said, it's all very down to earth, and, it's all very symbolic and psychological in nature. So, if you start thinking about those people and why they behave in this way, like what shaped them, the backstory we have. So the nanophage, which is a digital and biological disease at once. So people who were augmented and had, cybernetic arms or cybernetic implants, overall, then, they kind of got infected and there was no cure. So only, very radical surgeries. So, cutting off hands, limbs, like whatever was, infected was basically the only way to save those people. So it's a threat that's still present in 2084 in the game where we set the game. And, it kind of shaped the people. So, they're kind of scared of the past and, scared of technology in some way. But on the other hand, they are kind of hooked to it. They cannot live without it. So it's a part of their lives. So if you start delving into all those stories, into what shaped those people, you kind of get this very dark and really vision of, where humanity can be at one point, of our lives, right?
Yeah, they're very paranoid. That's the word I would use.
Yeah, just slightly. I need one of those video door intercom pieces
with like a big eye.
With a big eye, yes. Yes. What do you want? I was going to ask, were there any big lessons that you guys learned from Layers of Fear that helped with the Observer?
Like, one crucial thing, I think the most crucial thing is that actually people enjoyed games that are, not 100% focused on action. So they can enjoy games that, are more, psychological in nature, basically, or at least, being, more focused on the experience, that you can, see in the game, or you can witness in the game, basically. You can experience the experience, right?
Right.
So that's the lesson. Like, we felt we find a perfect spot for us, and we know people enjoy this kind of games, and there's a fan base ready, to delve into those kind of stories, and those stories are the ones that we want to make. But, being, going more, down to earth, the answer for your questions, we kind of learned a lot about, how to scare the players, like what they are really afraid of, how to present it, probably, a lot of, technical details, like how to build levels so people kind of felt, being observed or being, hunted by something and being chased by something without any, visible enemy anywhere near. So creating this very dark and gritty atmosphere overall. So I think, our experiences with Layers of Fear and, talking with the community, even to this day, about Layers of Fear, kind of gives us insight into all of that things. Like, we're still getting feedback on both Layers of Fear right now on Observer. So we're talking to people, and, it's an ongoing experience for us as well. And working with the community is a very, passionate thing for us, something that we do really enjoy, because, all of those people have different ideas. So things that, we felt, kind of needed maybe something at some point. Like the community said, it's really good, it's great. Like I'm referring mostly to Layers of Fear, because in early access, we had the time to actually talk with the people while the production was going on. Observer was, more regular production, so only on, focus tests or whatnot, we could talk to people about that. But yeah, like everyone, had their opinions, and if they were followed by arguments, then it was basically everything we needed, because everyone had a different experience with the game. And that's also what we wanted to make, like to make our games very private for everyone. So like they feel that it was their experience, and, you and I, might have had, different experiences from the game, different thoughts about playing the game and the different situations in the game. And yeah, like working with community was basically the most important thing for us with Layers of Fear, and having all that knowledge, with the production and after the production gave us, a very huge insight in what people, kind of want, and how people react to all those kind of scare tactics, but also the atmosphere building and whatnot. So yeah, Layers of Fear taught us a lot.
Great. Speaking of Layers of Fear, just before we move on, I'm sorry to do this, Ross, Clay. You're going to have to give me this one. I'm sorry, but my girlfriend actually put me up to this. We found the little Easter egg in Observer, a little nod to Layers of Fear, the kitty with the wheels.
Oh yeah,
we love him.
Mr. Willer?
Does he have a name?
Yes, it's Mr. Willer.
Mr. Willer. That's where can we buy figurines? Clay, can you 3D print me one?
I can do that. I can get on that. I'll start that this evening.
This is just between fans of Layers of Fear and us. I'm sorry, but he's great.
Thanks. Like it was supposed to be, kind of a good memory between, all those very weird and creepy things that were happening in Layers of Fear, like a spot of, light in the darkness. So it's really great that you like him.
Yeah, it was good to see him again in Observer, because, it was just like, oh, an old friend. Oh, thank God, I need something good.
Now, I do have a pretty abstract question for you, but we haven't ever really had a horror game developer on here before. So you've touched a little bit earlier about the process of creating fear. Just how do you go about measuring and creating something which is truly terrifying, but still making it fun? Like, how do you know when something becomes too stressful?
Like, I would say it's, it will sound probably way too easy, but, it's something that first and foremost you have in your gut. Like, you have a gut feeling of what you feel will be right or won't be right. So you kind of do an event in the game or a level in the game that you feel will be right, and then it's just a try and error kind of way of going around it. So each time we develop a level, we look at it, we see how it works, we see how it works on its own, we see how it works and combines with the other parts of the game. It's not that, we have an idea, then we do it and it works. Like, it's rarely like that. It just, needs a constant polishing from both level designers, art directors, basically art director, because we have one. But yeah, it's a try and error kind of a thing. But for people who have been, basically swallowing up everything horror for a while, you kind of get this idea of what will or won't work. And there is, the time for polishing everything and, making it all come together. There's no, one golden rule to make everything work. but they're often simple tricks, like not simple as in concept, but very hard to create, to be honest. So using proper audio cues or using silence to scare the player, also using light and shadows and proper lighting, proper colors, even like everything kind of goes into the atmosphere of the moment of the game and the whole game itself. So it's just a kind of, as I said, trial and error, but based everything on a very basic idea for people to understand, that from the people that understand horror, to just make it happen, right?
So I've got a fun question for you. So last week on this very podcast, we were all talking about playing The Observer and how much we were enjoying it. There is one small mini game, with fire and sword? Yes. The spider mini game that, at least me personally, I'm slightly obsessed with. I mean, what inspired that? I mean, how did you guys come up with that? What inspired that mini game that's built into this larger game?
Yeah, like we wanted to have something interactive in the computers that you have to go through from time to time. And also, it's a kind of realistic for people to have small games. When, PCs were, in the 80s probably, or even for you guys a little bit earlier or maybe a little bit later, I don't really know. However, the first PCs that you've encountered as kids, for a lot of people, they were, PCs in schools, or, PCs at someone else's places, like a friend or an uncle or whatnot. And, they always had like this very, simple basic game on their PC, be it one game, like, PC was for work for a lot of those people. And the games were in the 80s and 90s, very down to earth 8-bit or even, easier or, at least worse looking. And it was first of all, kind of wink to those times that, you had everyone play this one game because you had no access to other games at the time. But the naming itself is a reference to a very, very important, book, a school lecture that's, called With Fire and Sword, which translates into Polish, to Ogniem I Mieczem. And, it's one of the most important books in Polish literature. So, we took that concept and kind of made a wink to people, in Poland with that. So, yeah.
I have to say, you told me this game is simple. I'm just sitting here shaking my head saying, nah, man, like this game is hard. but my girlfriend and I spent like 20 minutes trying to puzzle out some of those higher levels.
I still have 100% record in that game, so I disagree.
Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants over here. What level are you up to?
The first one.
Oh, come on. Come on. I'm going to take the next question now because Ross is just full of it. This is probably the last serious question we're going to ask you. And I just want to bring up something that you touched on before when you were talking about, how to scare people. And that's sound. And, one of the coolest thing about the games, other than its, spectacular art direction, is the sound. And I want to know a little bit about your sound departments. Like, it must be a pretty fun job, right? Like, what goes into making all those really freaky sounds? How do you decide what it sounds like when the walls start to melt?
I would say, it's like if you have the scene and you start thinking about a perfect audio for that, is mostly you have first and foremost, you have a very basic sound. And then you start, mixing it a little bit. Then you start adding other audio cues to it, mixing them together, and until you find a perfect sound that matches that concrete sound. So it's mostly about mixing and reusing sounds, and finding a very specific sound for it, something that you will feel familiar with, but also that sounds a little bit different from real life, which kind of in itself creeps you out. It's like if you think about visual side of horror. So the most terrifying monsters in horror are basically those that resemble humans in 96%, but those 4% change it. That the 4% that are not realistic in some way is what creeps you out. So because you are very familiar and what you see is not fully familiar, so it makes you uncomfortable. And the same kind of goes with audio design. So every time you design something that needs to, sound regular, like opening a door or whatnot, that's cool. You use, sounds that are real life, real world sounds that you would normally hear when opening a creaking door. But with Observer, like, we could have a little bit fun with all of that. So, we have this futuristic world, very dystopian world where, CRT TVs are connected to this very high tech, holographic imagery, for instance. So doing sounds for that, we're, mostly thinking about, how this sounds right now, how similar, tag sounded in the 80s, like CRT TVs, and how we can, update it in a sort, to 100 years into the future, into 2084. So it's all about mixing. It's all about, feeling the mood of the scene that we want to make. And I'm going to tell you, it's not an easy job. Seriously, it's not. It's a very meticulous job. And the guys working in our audio department literally did a fantastic job on creating everything in the game.
Now, one question that I think is in everyone's lips right now after the press reaction that you've had, the critical and also all the fan reaction to your latest game, what is next for Bloober?
That's a question that I won't be able to answer, obviously.
Well, not literally what's next,
However,
but are you guys going to start working on your next project, or?
We actually already started working on our next project.
Oh.
But yeah, we always have tons of ideas in our heads, and we try to work on more than one project at the same time. So it's not that, we throw 40 people at one project at the same time and we do it for the full production time. It's mostly, we have, very small teams and smaller teams working on different projects. Or we have, we are doing a lot of R&D, thinking about ideas, thinking about concepts. So yeah, the next games are definitely in the making. And, they will also be psychological horror games. So you can expect, even better games than Observer is.
Ooh.
Now, there's one final question that we ask all of our guests, and you are not going to get off lightly.
Oh no.
And it's not about cats on wheels, I can assure you of that. But what I want to know, what the listeners of Party Chat Podcast and Reddit users want to know, is which classic video game character could you knock out with one punch?
Okay.
I always love the silence after you ask that while I try and digest. Like, did he just say that?
No,
do I have to answer that?
No, once you said it, I already had an answer, but it will be an unpopular one.
Oh, this is gonna be good. Let's hear it.
Okay, so that would probably be Crash Bandicoot.
Wow.
Crash.
Nice.
Bam. What? That's different. Can you explain why? You just think you could take him.
And he's this, goofy guy spinning around with his fists open. when you see these comedy action movies, you often see these, very kung fu looking guy who's doing all those, moves. He looks like he's a full pro, and then comes, an American soldier, and he just one punches him to oblivion. So that's basically what I think about Crash Bandicoot, swinging his arms all around, constantly. It's just like one dude would come out and, punch him in the face, and like, that's done.
Well, it's good to know that you put some thought into this, I have to say. I'm very impressed. But, Rafal, that's all the time that we have for you today. So thank you so much for coming to join us. It's been a real pleasure to have you on here. Basically, congratulations with the launch. We wish you all the best on your future titles. And we look forward to maybe even having you on for one of those.
Sure, I will be delighted to come back.
Fantastic. So thanks a lot, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
So thanks, Rafal, for joining us. That was a great interview, wasn't it, guys?
Amazing.
Where did you
So
go?
insightful.
Did you just like step outside?
Yarp.
Just disappeared in the shadows.
Yeah, right.
It's too busy playing Destiny. No, but we actually have a copy of this game to give away. Come to our Twitter page at PartyChatPod if you want to win a copy of this game. But anyway, guys, one final topic, and it is a biggie, as we like to say. Microsoft have supposedly confirmed that they're in talks with Sony about crossplay. It's a topic that we have touched upon before, but I want to know your current thoughts, and I'm going to start with you, Clay. Are we going to be able to play with our Sony friends soon?
Probably not, and I'd honestly be more interested in Switch crossplay with Rocket League and Xbox One, if I'm to be honest.
Yeah, baby.
So yeah, I'm obviously interested in crossplay with Rocket League. That is the one game I would want crossplay with my PS4 friends. Carina, I don't think you've talked about this before, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Do you think we're going to see crossplay?
Not soon, but I really do hope it happens. Just because I have a lot of friends who main on PlayStation, especially when I'm just going to keep talking about Destiny. I have a lot of PlayStation clans that that've been, come join us, and then they find out I'm an Xbox, and it's like,
you're one of those people.
I'm one of them. But yeah, no, I've always been up for crossplay. I always think it's a brilliant idea. I just wish Sony would hurry up and be like, yeah, go on guys, let's do it. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon just yet. But I do like the idea with the Switch as well. I mean, I don't own a Switch just yet, but like you say, Rocket League, Minecraft is brilliant ideas for crossplay. Overwatch, I'd like to see Overwatch in crossplay as well. I mean, that'd be nice.
Who the true players are.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be interesting. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people do use a controller, even though they're on PC, so it's like, why don't you just cross-play it anyway?
And you can also use mouse and keyboard on Xbox or PS4.
Yeah. What would be the benefit for Sony in opening this up, though? I feel as if we're always going to win, and of course the players in PS4 would win with this, but what is the benefit for Sony opening this up other than their giving what the fans want?
Goodwill.
Given what the fans want.
Given what the fans want. People would buy more Sony stuff if Sony was a good company, I mean, it doesn't really apply to Nestle or something like that, I suppose, but
I don't think there's any commercial benefit for Sony in doing this, and let's face it, they like the money.
Oh yeah.
So I genuinely don't think we're ever going to see it. I want to be proved wrong. I really want to be proved wrong. But for me, this is a PR exercise where Microsoft want to be seen as the good guys who are approaching other companies about working out some kind of deal for crossplay. And the only thing that it's doing is making the competition not look as good. And that is what it is in my mind. It's simply a PR exercise. I hope I am wrong about that. I really, really do. But I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
So I'll be honest with you. I think anyone with two brain cells to, smash together knows this. Corporations only care about the money. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, it's all about the bottom line, really. The corporations will follow the money. So if the customers refuse to buy products that were not crossplay, then suddenly products would become crossplay. But at the moment, people don't really care, because if Sony's making boatloads of cash without it, they're not really at risk of losing any money if they do or don't.
Well, anyway, I think this would be a good point to end this week's podcast. But thank you all for joining us. And for another week, Xbox, turn off.
You're listening to Xbox One Party Chat Podcast, the official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit.
Let's do this.
Oh, very good.
Wait, I thought it was called The Observer, by the way.
No,
It's Observer.
Just Observer? What's the little thing from? Yeah.
It's
More
it's
than.
actually, that's the greater than symbol. So it's greater than observer underscore.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta look that up real quick.
It means greater than.
Is it really just The Observer?
Do you even ninth grade mathematics?
No, I do realize that. I thought it was called The Observer. Is it not called The Observer?
No, it's just Observer.
Just
Oh, it's just Observer. My bad. There's another 10-year reference. Do people still say my bad?
I should have really informed you of this before we did the interview.
I know, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I said The Observer 3 or 4 times during that interview. I'm slightly red in the face, by the way, for anybody that can't. You know what I'm really interested in? Is crossplay of Uncharted.
Yeah. When
If that ever
Sony
happened.
wins the Uncharted port, guys, hurry up.
Exactly.
But Ross, Rocket Play on Switch.
Sorry.
Yeah, like.
Sorry, I gotta keep.
What is that? Is that the Uncharted theme?
That was my horrible.
Are you
I thought you were having a stroke.
Yeah, are you sure, Clayton? It's all about the bottom line, really, And this is a capitalist market, so they respond to the.
It literally took me like 2 minutes to pull that up on my phone.
Worth it.
I was like, all right, let me pull this up real quick. 2 minutes later.
But
Did everyone move on from that last little thing that we just did there? A few minutes
No,
ago?
I'm not finished. What I was saying was
Where's that
basically. Sorry, I got totally thrown off my train of thought. Impromptu soundbite.